So what are the main goals of the spring? When you have you have a lot of returning guys too, but some new guys. What are the main goals of the spring for you specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I got a broad one of improvement. I mean, we've progressively gotten better at every area of our defense, in personnel to how we play and how connected we are in coverage to our pass rush. And, so there are specifics that we need to get into for different concepts of coverages and pressures and things like that. But just the constant growth and improvement with our guys is important to me. And, there's multiple ways to do that. But it come down we have certain things that we're going to do in meetings that maybe are a little bit different. We have certain things we're going to do in walkthroughs that are a little bit more where we're advancing things that'll connect stuff to on the field. So, I mean, there's a lot of it. There were things that we implemented in tour duty that are just next step things that we're ready for, that we're getting better at. So, I'm energized by what we got coming back, but I'm more energized at the steps that I know that we can take.
How do you, when it comes to losing somebody like Jamie, it's not, you can't just say, okay, Shaheen, go be Jamie, go fill that role. But how do you try to fill the impact that number 10 had on your defense the last 2 years? How do you go about doing that?
I think multiple ways. I think, Corey, what excites me is the way that we were able to, highlight, showcase Jamie's skills. Now, whether it's incoming freshmen, whether it's Shaheem, Akeem, Duke, guys that are here, they see within the system, okay, we're not going to be put in a cookie cutter. If I'm good at this, this, and this, I'll be used like this, this, and this. So it offers guys opportunities, and now, there's guys that come to me and say, can I do what Jamie did in these calls? And I love that, because it shows that, guys see the benefits of learning multiple spots. Guys see the ability of what playmaking skills look like. And, Jamie was a unique player. And I wasn't even sure what it was going to look like. Right when we got him here, he was our nickel. That's what it was going to be. And then by week 3 or 4, we started to make that process a little bit. And then this year, obviously, he played specifically more safety and dime. But he's a hard one to replace.
Sure, but you did bring in not a safety, but a corner, one of the best ones in the country in the portal in Cyprus. What have you seen from him so far? I know you haven't practiced yet, but how has he fit into the room? How do you foresee him making an impact on the rest of the secondary? Did it allow, for instance, Duke Cooper to move to safety? Is that part of the reason?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely allowed for us to move Duke. The movement of Duke is just for us to be better as a secondary, us to be better as a defense, right? There are moves individually, but it's all collectively to try to make them the best group we can be. I think Fentrell's got a chance to be a really special player, because we've seen him do it in our league. But then when he's come here, he's basically taken on the role that I thought he would. He's a pro in every way. He just shows up, he works, he asks questions, he's supportive of his teammates. He's got constant knowledge to try to grow. He was in my office just the other day, just for an hour, just watching, and I had specific questions, and so just it's going through. When you get somebody like that, and some of these guys that are a little bit further along in their college career, they're very purposeful in what they're looking for, which I love, and he's a really good fit for us personality-wise and as a player.
And when you throw him in with Renardo Green and Jarian Jones, how much does that help somebody like AZ, learning from dudes that have been in the college game for a long, long time? And what kind of leap do you expect Azaria to make maybe in year 2?
It's hard to generalize how those things impact each individual player. But I think Azaria on his own, had a really good season. I mean, he played over 300 reps as a true freshman. And it's the second year in a row that we played true freshman in the secondary. Kevin Knowles at Duke the year before. And then even look at Shaheem. He didn't play at all as a true freshman. And he might have been one of the better DBs we had last year in his role. But I think, how does it affect Azaria? I don't know. I mean, we're going to roll him at nickel, roll him at corner. Same thing with J-Dub and Renardo. So, I think it just offers more depth, more competition, more growth. And the better people you have in a room, the more growth you see the whole room, because we use each other. Their experiences, I think, having guys come in from the outside, sometimes that lends other experiences, which offers growth for everybody.
And I think the competition level, Coach Norvell talked about it, Coach Atkins has talked about it. is that when a program can really start to get its footing? Is when you have guys that have played a lot of football that are fighting for second string, unlike your defensive line. How much does that help just the overall defense? What happens this spring, the growth? Because if you don't play well, if you don't practice well, you can't get on the field.
Yeah, I think, what you got to be careful. I mean, competition is what drives all of us in every profession. I mean, it's critical to everybody's growth. But I'd like to even take it further than that from a standpoint of you can paint the picture of you don't play good, this guy's going to play, and you're not going to play. Right away when you do it, it drives a stake in between the two. It's either him or me. And if you really go back to what the team's trying to do, like that's not how we build it. So you want to try to drive it as like, listen, don't be naive. There's competition. You may not travel. You may not play as much because of this. But at the end of the day, the competition is us with each other, not us against each other. And it's if the main goal is trying to be your best and tap out on whatever your maximum potential is, well then if we bring other people in that can help you get there, that's what it's got to be used for.
Could you foresee a rotation of like 10 on the defensive line in games?
I think so. I mean, listen, there could be times that we play with 5 defensive linemen on the field. I mean, that could be a possibility. We've played with 4 DNs on the field before. We could play with 4 defensive tackles on the field, at times. I mean, there's certain combinations that aren't limited to what just football is used to, right? And if you recruit the right types of people and you have these, I don't want to say positionless defensive linemen, but when you have guys that can play a multitude of spots, it allows you for more flexibility with how you use them.
What did you guys kind of see in Duke as far as like he can cover, all DBs have to cover, but he can make that transition from corner to safety? Is it how he tackles? Is it maybe adding a little bit of weight to be a safety? Different responsibilities. Like, what did you see in Duke to be that potentially a safety type?
He's really mature in his play, and I felt we had enough depth at corner that allowed us to make a move with somebody. And I just went through the processes of, how would Duke fit back there? How would the other guys fit back there? Who would grow the most? Who would take a step back if we did move them? Like, that's all part of it. It's not just about Duke. It's about, the other guys that it could impact. And, Duke's always been somebody that cares. He's got a high care factor. And he played and he was banged up all year. And he fought through it. And he's got a high care factor. He's smart. And the instincts at safety really show up. At corner, it's a lot of change of direction and physical skill. I think you can see a lot of instincts. He's super coachable, and I think if you get his eyes in the right place, he's really disciplined enough to make that count. And I think he can transition really well. And he's, I don't think he's got to put it on a lot of size, but he already has. And I think, he's got physicality to him. He's got legit ball skills, and he's played the defense now for 2 years, which will really help the transition.
Can you tell in March from a true freshman, like the Graham kid, the linebacker, can you tell in March, like the first week, the whole spring, okay, he's ready to make a jump, or he has made a jump? Or is that something that just comes progressively incremental?
You say when they get here as mid-year guys, or redshirt freshmen?
Their redshirt freshman year.
Yeah, I knew Omar probably by week 7, 8 last year, because we actually kept him up with us.
Yeah.
And he practiced with the second group, and he played through. We're very intentional in doing that with him in practice, knowing that we thought he would have a real chance to help us. And we really thought that he was going to play late in the year. We happened to stay healthy, and so we just didn't put him in. But this spring, there's no secret. Kalen DeLoach, DJ Lundy, Tatum Bethune have all played a lot of football for us. Brennan Gantz played football for us. But Omar is getting thrust into that group. We're going to put him in that position in the spring. So, and I believe in him.
And that's kind of what you want to do, I assume, across the board with these redshirt freshmen or even true freshmen that are here now. Kind of throw them into the fire a little bit in spring.
Well, I think it's prepare them, and then put them in.
Well, sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, there's a couple guys that jump up that are like that. Shaheem was like that last year. We saw it coming. When we made the decision in fall camp, all right, he's going to be the third safety. And, we had Jarquez McClellan, who had a good, solid role the year before, was a good, solid player. And did Shai deserve that at that point? I don't know. That could be argued. But I knew what it would look like if we invested that time into him, and I'm glad we did. And I think this year Daniel Lyons comes up in that night. I think he's somebody that he fits in what we had with Omar in that mindset of young guy, true freshman. We redshirted him, but he will be in the rotation this spring.
Did you guys, when you evaluate a player in the portal, do you look at him as in he's got a chance to be a multi-year guy?
Say that.
Do you look at a guy in the portal and say this guy has a chance to be a multi-year guy at Florida State? Because you've been fortunate between Fabian, Jamie Robinson, Jared Verse, Tatum Bethune. I mean, there's a bunch of examples where you had some Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas types.
Yeah.
We've had some multi-year guys too. Do you identify that early, or is it a byproduct of success, culture?
I think we're getting to that point. I mean, the first year of the portal, we were just trying to take enough functional players that we could play good football. If they had multiple years, it was going to be great. Now as we're building the roster and we have a little bit more depth, the number of years does play into it, but it comes position by position. This year, we thought Ventrell was the best one out there for us. Whether he's going to have 1 or 2 years, and we felt Braden Fisk was going to be the best fit for us. Darrell Jackson, this could be his last year of college football. He has another year. We'll see. You know what I mean? So we don't try to overhead, because when you're dealing with really good players, like a lot of these guys could be done in 3 years. Some of them, and you can't plan for the injury. So I mean, yes, we're aware of the years, but I don't think it's always the decision factor. But like maybe going into this summer portal section, there are certain positions that we probably won't take a 1-year guy, but we would take multiple years. So it is part of the equation.
What have you seen from Gilbert Edmond through the tour duty process? And I guess what are you looking for from him spring and projecting out his role in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say Gilbert is. We have high expectations for him. He's going to be in that first rotation group, I think. We've seen him do it, even though it wasn't for us. The film is able to equate better for us when we watch that film as opposed to high school. He's mature. One of the greatest things about Gilbert is when we recruited him, he said, we have this system, exo system, that the film goes up right after the game. And Gilbert would get text from his position coach the minute the film came up. It wouldn't be broken down by the GAs or the coaches, and he would watch it because he had it on his mind of what he didn't do well, and he wanted to know what it looked like. And so that told me a lot about him. And so, that part I know is there because of just through the recruitment, and I think fundamentally just his skill set and his size is what we look for. And so, I think he's got a chance to be a high-level defensive end for us.
When we were talking to Coach Norvell earlier, he was asked about the defensive line and the versatility of the group potentially. He smiled. He seems excited about it. I'm sure you are as well. What do you like about what the group, maybe at its peak, what it could present for you guys this season?
Yeah, I think, you've got pass rushers, you've got guys that are stout in the run game, and you have guys that can play all 3 downs, and I think we've got a good mix, and that comes through evaluation, comes through development, and just building the group. And it's starting to get to a point that we feel really comfortable with how we built it. Now it's still about the development and getting them to play together and getting to certain roles. And I just don't want us to become very cookie cutter with the roles yet, right? Because there's not always going to be 2 D ends and 2 D tackles on the field together. We've shown the ability to play with multiple defensive ends, and I think we're open to playing with multiple defensive tackles too, based on roles and based on how it could play. And so like I'm open to all of it. I just want to go out there and make sure that we're playing the best defense we can play.
Is that